So I'm writing this review just after finishing the penultimate season of The Expanse. As I said in my premiere review, I initially thought all episodes were dropping at once, but honestly, I've been happy to wait a week between each episode. It's given me time to really think on the events of each new installment and increased anticipation for the next one. Thus far, The Expanse Season 3 has been my favourite, but Season 5 might have just joined it in my own personal ranking. First of all, however, a shameless plug. It seems a lot of folks still don't know I have other channels aside from this one. An entertainment channel called Grindhouse Media, where myself and friends talk about movies and shows aside from just Star Trek, although I do sometimes force them to watch things like that anyway. Our primary series is the Watch Party series, where we riff on movies and TV episodes for a laugh. Everything from infamously bad to complete schlock, and even movies we actually like as well. I also have a gaming channel called SideQuest, in which we do video essays, gameplays, and coming soon, some reviews. Both of these channels are still early days, but it's been really fun experimenting with the kind of content we produce on them. There's lots of good stuff coming in the new year, so be sure to follow the links below and subscribe so you can be the first to watch. With that out of the way, let's jump into the video. This kind of goes without saying at this point, but I feel like each season of The Expanse just looks better and better than the last. I don't know if it's thanks to funding from Amazon or the production team simply growing more confident, but Season 5 looks like it belongs on the big screen. It feels just so cinematic, every shot is gorgeous to look at, the direction is excellent, and the art department and VFX teams have outdone themselves. Also, the changing aspect ratio didn't bother me as much this time. I think what made it stick out to me previously was how rare widescreen scenes were in each episode. Widescreen was only used specifically for scenes on Illis, but now in Season 5, any planet/moon based scenes are widescreen. This gives the episode a more consistent visual language, and because it happens more frequently, the switches weren't actually as noticeable this time, in a funny roundabout way. This season also feels, for lack of a better word, more epic than the others. I think this is due to the larger amount of branching stories this time. Beforehand, each season usually followed about 3 threads: the Rocinante crew, Avasarala, and another thread following the antagonists. But with the Rocinante being refitted at the beginning of the season, and the crew all on different personal missions, the scope of the show feels twice as big. Seeing Earth, Mars, Belters, and Holden's antics all at the same time has been really compelling. I'm now getting into some spoilery territory. I've stated as such in the title of this video, but this is an additional warning just to make sure you've seen this season before continuing with the video. Obviously, the primary storyline this season has been Naomi and her relationship to her son and Marco Inaros. I've seen people moan that this storyline takes up too much focus, but I mean, we've had several seasons all about James Holden already, so a change is fine by me. On top of that, the drama itself is just so fantastically written. Marco Inaros is a brilliant villain. I link to this great Space Doc video which really explores the character in detail. Because on the one hand, what the character says and fights for is incredibly appealing and seems justified to a certain extent. He promises the quick, easy victories so many Belters have been craving, yet as we come to understand through his relationship to Naomi and Philip, underneath all the speeches is a narcissistic, manipulative abuser who is far more concerned with his own place in history rather than the actual well-being of his people. It's interesting to note how, as a viewer, you aren't exactly sure what to think of Naomi's past actions regarding her son, which has the effect of us sympathizing with Philip's point of view. But the moment Naomi actually has a chance at getting to know Philip, and we come to really understand why she did what she did, Inaros instantly switches the way he treats Philip and shows us the kind of person he really is. It's a credit to Keon Alexander as an actor that Inaros rarely raises his voice, instead speaking surprisingly softly, almost whispering. But the moment Philip expresses any form of affection towards Naomi, Inaros' tone becomes aggressive, and he attacks Philip's character directly, forcing him to quote-unquote prove his worth to his own father. Writing an abusive character is so often mishandled, but here the writing is very tactful and the dramatic consequences are earned. Speaking of Naomi, this has easily been Dominique Tripper's greatest performance in the show so far. Where she truly shined was when the character spent almost 2 whole episodes trapped on the Chesamoka. Just watching this battered, damaged person use nothing but her wits and ingenuity to try and save her friends was nail-biting stuff. With barely any dialogue, Tripper runs the full gamut of emotions. It was like a decathlon of acting, it was amazing. It's also a testament to just how well this universe is developed that the writers could even come up with all these technical solutions she was trying, improvising a radio out of spare parts, altering the original message, forcing a maneuvering thruster to put the ship in a spin, all while oxygen deprived, sleep deprived, and severely dehydrated. It was crazy. I don't think I blinked during the entire sequence where Bobby Draper finally rescues her. It's at this point we should probably address Alex Kamal's death and the whole Cass Anvar thing. Really, I think the production team made the best of a really shitty situation here. For those who don't know, last year Cass Anvar was basically exposed as being extremely manipulative and abusive towards a number of female fans, and after an internal investigation he was fired from the series. It's a really shitty thing, and Anvar is pretty much a total scumbag for what he did. While Kamal's death in The Expanse was incredibly sudden, and I can imagine confusing to those who don't know the whole story, honestly I think it was handled as best as it could have been. The death scene itself is clearly the product of some sly editing and visual effects work. The lack of extended mourning for the character, again, I think was a wise choice. As much as we'd like, this show does not exist in a vacuum, and I don't think it would have been fair to those Anvar was abusive towards to glorify his character all that much. So the show makes an effort to mourn the character without glorifying the actor. Outside of the main storyline though, I really enjoyed Amos and Clarissa Mao's prison escape and following Trek across the wilderness to get off Earth. The two of them have really awesome chemistry, and it was great to explore Amos's backstory at the same time. Avasarala losing her husband and taking a firm moral stance against retaliatory strikes against Belter civilians was also great stuff. It's one of the rare times the character is truly vulnerable, but it also shows how much the character has grown over the seasons. Season 1 Avasarala would probably have signed off on striking at civilian targets, but now her whole perspective on the political situation in the solar system has shifted for the better. Drummer as well had great material. I've said before Drummer is one of my favourite characters in the show, and it was really interesting to see her away from the OPA with her own crew, her own family really. Most of her story thread is pretty tough and even heartbreaking in places. After losing Ashford, Fred Johnson, and for all she knows Naomi as well, she tries her damnedest to make things work and do what she thinks is best for her family. But during the finale, the moment she finally says enough is enough and stands with the Rocinante, I was punching the air. Honestly, the final episode of the season was already great, but those final scenes were like the best series of hooks for season 6. Inaros takes control of the ring gates, Martian seditionists are messing around with alien tech, and now whatever is inside the rings has woken up and is destroying ships. It's one hell of a setup for season 6. From the looks of things, it'll be just as epic and action-packed as Season 3, but with the Lovecraftian alien technology elements of Season 4. Sounds like an absolute blast, and I cannot wait. The Varden asks, what is your favourite comic book series? I don't collect ongoing weekly comic book series, instead I collect comics in trade paperbacks or buy one-off graphic novels, so I can't really say I have a favourite series. I suppose it would be more accurate to say I have favourite stories or story arcs. In terms of superhero comics, I think All-Star Superman is the greatest Superman story ever written. I think it's just brilliant. I'm generally a big fan of Grant Morrison's work. I also really liked his Wonder Woman Earth 1, just a really fresh take on the character. Generally, I tend to read more DC comics than Marvel comics when it comes to superheroes. But outside of superheroes, once again there's Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, which is basically The Matrix if it was punk-inspired rather than anime-inspired. I really like the Valerian and Laureline series, which I actually started reading because of the movie, in a funny way. There's lots, honestly. I'm also a big Judge Dredd fan. I met John Wagner at a convention once, that was cool. I can't narrow it down, I'm afraid. I'll be here all day naming novels and series I think are great. If you ask me in the Discord server, I'll be happy to chat recommendations. Ryauga Hibiki, I'm so sorry, asks, is there a TV show you enjoyed but felt should have ended earlier than it did? Even though I made Fringe the subject of a Hidden Gem video, I do think it went on for a season too long. While I don't think this final season is bad, I felt like it was kind of treading water and could have wrapped things up neatly at the end of Season 4. The Season 4 finale was really good and felt like a proper conclusion. It's true we wouldn't have gotten any details on the observers had it ended there, but then again, that was kind of part of their appeal to begin with, so it might have been better to just kind of leave it vague and sort of leave it up to the viewer to decide if they were future humans or aliens or from another dimension or something like that. I still love the show, obviously, and still enjoy Season 5 for what it is, but yeah, I don't think it really needed to happen. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on my new uploads. If you want to help the channel grow, join my patrons or my YouTube members, where you can see videos early as well as some other exclusive content. Speaking of which, I'd like to quickly thank all of my patrons and members who are now appearing on screen. Have a good one, and as always, live long and prosper.